I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure that I said this carefully and that I communicated really clearly how I feel about this issue. I was one of the original plaintiffs in 1994, even before the Office of Hawaiian Affairs was a plaintiff. There were just 3 of us and an attorney, William Meheula, bringing this matter before the courts. We believed then that the United States had, well, I believed, that the United States had no legal claim to the lands, to the ceded lands or the crown and government lands of the kingdom. We were also aware that the Republic, the territory, and the state governments had all used ceded lands to reward and strengthen already wealthy firms and powerful individuals through a very long period of time. This has been well documented by other people who came before us, including the 1994 article by the Wall Street journalist Susan Faludi. We understand that the state continued to offer, well into the 1980s and 90s, ridiculously low leases and in some cases outright sales of ceded lands. And we felt the need to assert all of these claims in court to pressure the state to begin a reconciliation with our people. Over time, I became much more interested in reclaiming our independent government, and not simply as a Native Hawaiian looking for Native Hawaiian entitlements here in this place as a part of the state, but really reasserting our right to exist as a nation state as we were constituted in 1843 by our Constitution and by recognition, by international recognition with foreign powers. I understand that not every Hawaiian feels that way. And I understand that we have family members who consider themselves Americans. And we have family members that are Americans, but not Kanaka Maoli. I understand that we are outnumbered here, which not only raises questions about the practical likelihood of restoring our independent government, it raises moral questions as well. Can we, as Hawaiians, take a political path that does not protect and honor those around us who are not Native? I believe that we've already answered that question. We will not do that. And this is the reason why we have always pursued a path to self-determination that is patient and honorable. The fate of these lands brings forth the issues most clearly. The state Supreme Court has admitted that Kanaka Maoli claim to the ceded lands is authentic. The Governor's Attorney General seeks a federal intervention which threatens not only the Hawaiian sovereignty movement, but existing state and federal programs like OHA, DHHL, and for all we know, the preferences of Kamehameha schools. And they do this at a time when the economy in these islands could not be in a more precarious state. The Attorney General wants the residents of Hawaii to believe that it is acting in their best interests by asserting the state's ownership over these lands, but in fact it is not. Our suit and the opinion of the Supreme Court does not, at this point, take management of the lands away from the state of Hawaii, does not prevent it from drawing revenues from those lands to the state's general fund. All this suit and this opinion does is assert that we, Kanaka Maoli, have a kuleana in these lands, and that no government has the right to sell off these lands until either a reconciliation has taken place between the United States and the Kanaka Maoli people, or until the government determines that there will be no reconciliation. Yes, it is possible that the state or the U.S. may eventually choose to take a hard line with the Hawaiian sovereignty movement, as politically unadvisable as that course may be. The AG's appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States moves that possibility to the spring of next year. We're really clear about this. We have been patient, we have been honorable, and the state is now playing chicken with the sovereignty movement. And for what purpose? To prove who is in charge? To play to the political right wing in Hawaii and in the United States? Actually, who gives a damn what their purposes are? We have things to assert as well. The crown and government lands of the Kingdom of Hawaii are the kuleana of the Hawaiian people, period. Frankly, we're unimpressed with the management of the state of Hawaii and think that we have the talent and the training to do a better job. How ridiculous that the state cannot afford its public school system. I don't really believe that that charge was ever made against the Kingdom of Hawaii. How absurd that the state ignores the outrage of Kanaka Maoli over the proliferation of telescopes on Mauna Kea and then charges $1 per year to those profitable organizations for the privilege. How outrageous that the territory and the state allowed the U.S. military to snatch away Hawaiian homelands without compensation for half a century. This, the richest military in the history of the world. Really, it's almost as though the state knows only one thing, that it must pursue foreign investments and military spending at the cost of everything else, even the quality of the environment, and has neither the will nor the ability to lead these islands into any other kind of economy. And because this is all it now knows how to do, the state becomes desperate when Kanaka Maoli lay our legal claims to the lands before the courts, and they act as though we are the threat to the economy. While they have pursued tourism, real estate, and military spending these past 50 years, we Hawaiians have been pursuing a very different kind of infrastructure. Look around you. We have taken on the task of rescuing our language, history, arts, and sciences, and have now exposed thousands of people in Hawaii to the genius of Hawaiian agriculture and aquaculture. Our students have come to the universities and colleges in record numbers. And do you know what fields we tend to gravitate to? Social work, medicine, law, education, Hawaiian studies, and Hawaiian language, as though preparing ourselves to serve and to lead a nation. That's the kind of infrastructure that we have been preparing these last 50 years, while the state has done nothing. I believe that we have done this because we know exactly what we are doing. We may disagree on whether we are partly Americans. We may disagree on what part of the government is, what sort of government is appropriate or which is legitimate. But the one thing we agree on is that this land is our kuleana. We are the Aina, and the Aina is us. What happens here to the land and sea matters to us regardless of our political affiliations, and we are going to continue to assert that kuleana as long as we live. The great patriot Joseph Navahi in 1882 gave a speech in the city of Hilo, criticizing the king and the kingdom's legislature for knuckling under to Claus Freckles in a legal dispute and giving him 24,000 acres of the crown lands without a fight. Here's what he said in English: "Yes, the land, that cherished thing, the place where the feet of the famous conqueror stood and where his weariness was rested. That very valuable land, 24,000 acres of Kama'oma'o, has been lost. I tell you now, this is a shameless act which the legislature has granted, and I call those who granted it, this land, traitors to the country." Governor Lingle should withdraw this writ of certiorari. The state should acknowledge once and for all that it owes the Native people in the state of Hawaii an accounting for its guardianship of our lands. And then we need to get on with the task of managing this place for the benefit, for our benefit, and for the benefit of all. My message today is direct and simple. These are our lands, our responsibility. We have been working and training ourselves for years to make the Aina live again. Let's get on with it.